Well. Hey, everyone, wherever you may be. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for tuning in to Locker Talk Podcast, where you hear about NFL stars tomorrow today. I'm your host, Barry Barnes, founder and CEO of Locker-Report.com. And you guys can always go to all my social handles, whether it's on Twitter at Locker_Report, on Instagram, LockerReport100, and also Locker Talk 100. You can find me on Facebook, LockerReport.com, and also Locker Talk Podcast. That's on Facebook. But most importantly, go to YouTube, subscribe to this channel today, where you have all this good insight on the NFL knowledge that you guys will not see anywhere. I promise you will not see anywhere else. Hey, folks, I hope you guys are enjoying this year's 2022 version. Highlights of all undrafted players. Catching some of the best highlights weekly as we do our videos and showcasing undrafted players every week. I hope that you guys are enjoying this segment this year with his videos. Now, I had one subscriber that asked me this really important question, really good question, as to why and how did the NFL scouts miss out on all these good players? Because every week we're seeing nothing but great highlights from some good players that's doing some great job, phenomenal job on the turf in the NFL. And so this got me to remember a conversation years ago that I had with one of my trusted friends that was an NFL scout that really pretty much gave me the breakdown as to how and why there are more Power 5 school players that go undrafted in the NFL opposed to small school players. So what we had did with my trusted staff, we really went hard, dug deep to find out this number of undrafted players in the NFL. Well, this particular guy, I got rid of him. He's lazy. He just sat around, didn't do much, and looked at him, always went for a break. So I got rid of him. He's gone. So I just relied on my trusted food that I had that was going to dive into this number. Now, at the beginning of the season, 2022 season, we realized that out of the 2,208 players, 791 of those players are undrafted. That's the start of the season. Now, following all the way up to December, pretty much December the 19th, looking at that same number of 791 players, did not want to keep going through the weekly changes of undrafted players, because if I did that, it would have been so much brain surgery, so much brain damage, I couldn't keep up. So just sticking with that 791 players. Out from the 791 players, 258 of those players are from small schools, giving it a percentage of 32.6%. We're just going to round it up to a good old 33% of undrafted players in the NFL that came from that number of 791 that made up of 258 players from small schools that are in the NFL. Now they give us about a little over 60% of undrafted players that came from Power 5 schools. So we got that exact number laid out. But this is what I found out through my trusted friend, who was a former NFL scout. We're gonna take player A. I'm gonna try to make it really simple. Player A, here's player A, Power 5 school. Everybody across the board know that this particular player is definitely an NFL player. His grade, however, to be drafted is not that high, but this young man can play in the NFL, no question about it. Now we go and switch to player B. Player B comes from a small school, and there's some questions about this particular player. Is he good enough to play in the NFL? He has a niche, but let's look at him a little closer. Now, each team in the NFL is allotted a certain amount of money each year to have players to come to their facilities, to work them out, to pay for their stay, to pay for their background check, their drug test, all that kind of money is laid out. But the reason why they don't need to worry about player A is because since he is coming from a big time program, they already know, the scouts already know that he had the facilities, knowing that he had the right coaches, knowing that they had the right nutrition. Everything that that school, that Power 5 school has, NFL teams know that they do not have to worry about that particular player, player A, because they know that he has a good foundation to make the transition to the next level. But the small schools, especially your HBCU schools, which only have 11 players who are undrafted in the NFL, they know that those schools do not have the right facilities, not having the right nutrition, and also knowing they don't always have the right coaching. A lot of small schools do not have that in place. So this is why player B is going to get that invite to Indianapolis, so that all that stuff they don't have to worry about trying to pay for, they can get everything done free at the National Scouting Combine. National Scouting Combine, however, with all the stuff they need to look at a player closely, they don't have to pay for it. Now, we know the NFL teams, they don't like to spend money. They're very particular of how they use their resources. And then we can understand that everybody have a budget. But knowing that they can get some services done free, they're not going to invite those players to their facility. So they're going to give them a good old invite to the National Scouting Combine, just to show that every player that goes to the National Scouting Combine are not draftable players. It's just to get them in there so that these teams can really figure out what they have out this particular player. Player B, for instance. Okay, fast forward to the draft, pretty much from our birthday weekend. Thank the Lord for that. Draft weekend shows up, players on the third day. They remember this player B right here, which is National Scouting Combine. He get drafted, let's say around the 6th or 7th round, just to secure him, because they do have information on him. So they go ahead and draft him, and in my opinion, the 6th and 7th round is just an early invite to rookie minicamp. Check this out. Everyone likes to find a bargain. Player A, that player who NFL scouts know who is a bona fide NFL player. If he was to get drafted, whether in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round, there are money factors that's involved. So knowing that this player who did get a low grade, draft grade, who will be available as an undrafted free agent, they won't waste that draft pick money because they know there's money factors involved. So they can easily just go ahead and draft that small school player, that player B, who was invited to the National Scouting Combine. We'll draft him late in the round, and then if they wind up cutting him, that's money they don't have to worry about losing out on, so to speak. Or better yet, that's money that they can easily just worry about just dissolving, and it will not be a big deal because they know they get that better bargain from that player who will be selected undrafted, knowing that he can get somewhat like free labor. Of course, he can get paid, but the money that he would make if he was drafted would have been a lot more if he got drafted compared to bringing him in as an undrafted player. Everyone looks for a bargain, even though some people have the money, some people don't. But a bargain is a bargain, and this is what NFL teams do during this process. So this player A, this is where the undrafted free agent kick in at, because when he didn't get his name selected, he and his agent, those who's close to him, they can now look at their situation and pick the team that will best fit their skill set. Then they have the power to see what team to go to if they get multiple teams calling them. So hoping these teams that was looking at player A from the very beginning, they're hoping that this guy right here, player A, will sign with them. And then when they sign with them, they know chances are he's going to make that team, and that player who they drafted late in the round, chances are they're not going to make that team. Now, we have a good handful of small school players that do make teams, but for the most part, everything is calculated. It may look a little shrewd, it may look kind of dirty on NFL scouts in the way how they go about their business, but it makes a whole lot of sense the way how they have it broken down, because everybody's trying to find an edge, and everybody clearly always trying to save money, and they want to make sure that they have the right player to make sure that their team depth chart is built the way they need, so they can ultimately get the prize of winning a Super Bowl. And we know 31 of those teams are not going to win a Super Bowl, but the method works. This is how they get their players. This is how it works out, and this is how they break down. And this is why that particular subscriber and those out there who do not know, the reason why we're bringing this stuff up, because everybody thinking that all these undrafted players came from small schools. You probably thought this guy came from a small school. Nope, Justin Tuck, nope. He didn't get drafted. He must be the greatest kicker in NFL history. Yes, he's undrafted. Came out of Texas in 2012. I was right there in his first practice. He was kicking close to 70-yard field goals on that day. So no surprise in seeing how great this young man is, and he's doing great things. And looking forward to seeing him go down to the history books like he is charting right now. Hope everyone enjoyed this breakdown. Make sure you stay locked, because we're going to come back and talk about what the 2022 season have revealed from the undrafted players, what they did. We're going to talk about some stats, certain things that certain teams have with undrafted players. It's going to be really exciting. So make sure you guys stay tuned and stay locked every week with our weekly videos from my players, from undrafted players, being highlighted with their great plays on a weekly basis. Everyone stay blessed, stay locked into Lock and Talk Podcast, where you find NFL content that you will not see anywhere. Everyone stay blessed. Talk to you guys soon. Here we go.